just
Hi.
invoking your name, Kathy.
Yeah, where's Kathy? So glad you're here. Now, Catherine, where's that darn Catherine? See if she joins us. Is that a cat?
Yes.
Yes, that is the cat. He never gives up. Never.
That's all right, you bet.
Okay, now that I want to get your feelings about so we all read Matthew last night, did we not? Or on Sunday? Or no, when did we read that, Matthew?
We read Matthew on Sunday.
Sunday.
It kind of all runs together.
It sure does. We did this Matthew on Sunday. Okay.
Sunday.
And then parts of John we read last night, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
John 13.
So I am wondering if we need to read out loud all of Matthew again that we looked at. There is one thing in it. Oh no, that's in John that I wanted to point out. So, or do you have anything? Maybe that's the question. Is there anything in that Matthew passage that you would like to just raise up or the triumphal entry? So at Grace, we did not read the Passion. We are doing that tonight. That's always been the way I've always wanted to do it, but there you go. So, so we just did Palm Sunday, the triumphal entry, and all of that, and then tonight is the Passion reading. So, what do you think about poems and triumphal entry and Passion, etc.?
Oh, I learned something about it. I think Father TJ said it, that palms were a sign of war. The palms were not the pretty little flowery branch that we think about, but that they were a side of war. I lost you. A side of, and I don't know why they were that. Maybe somebody else can tell me, but that they were a symbol of war. And I thought,
they also don't make a presence in this story, Paul.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
That's one. No, that's one of the things that
There's a difference. Yeah.
That is really an interesting thing to pick up on.
Doesn't make a
Matthew,
presence.
we only have branches. We don't have palms. Jane.
Pastor Collette preached an interesting perspective on the Palm Sunday, the Matthew verse. And that was the idea that as everyone was coming into Jerusalem, Pilate comes from the west with a huge army and a parade that looks like May Day in Russia.
Yeah.
And Jesus comes from the east. And then, I mean, you can just see that, these two fronts colliding. Yeah. It was something that I had not been aware of and just loved the history in that.
Yeah.
Wow, the West and the East.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
is there an Isaiah we can quote on that? They shall come from the north and south, east and west, and
yeah. And even if that point's not made, the larger sort of point that those two things were happening at the same time is a really important point to be made. Go ahead, Mary Lou.
Well, and the donkey is so significant because in the story of David, he gave Solomon the donkey to ride to signify that he was the king.
Yeah.
And so that's significant.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Sometimes I do think that those things in our liturgical world, those things get a little bit lost because that we read in your Passion. And it kind of overshadows this triumphal entry and what the sort of the political ramifications. And when I use that word political, I mean, polity in that time, in that place, and what what that would all have to say. Yeah, which is why those of us who did the Palm Sunday march on our in our capitals and in our places of power, why that was so appropriate. So
Yeah.
that I would never have thought about that, but that's what we were doing. We were approaching the halls of power to reclaim this story of Jesus and what it means, and not giving it over to some sort of Christian nationalism.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, let us move to what we read last night, which is John 13, 1 through 1. Let's see. She's got in our Madeleine study, we've got John 13, 1 through 7, 18, 1 through 1942. So a few pieces of things here and there that also include the Passion.
It's 1 through 17.
17. Did I say 19?
No, you said 7.
That's 7.
Okay. Well, a point I wanted to make in all of that is that I find it unfortunate that she left out 18 and 19. John 13, 18 and 19, because what you have there is the last I am statement in verse 19, where Jesus says, I tell you this now before it occurs, so that when it does occur, you may believe that I am He.
You know, I just happened to still have the bulletin from last night, and we didn't read 18 and 19 either.
No, I think that's unfortunate. I think that that's a sort of a pivotal piece of John, right?
But is it part of the lectionary?
I don't think it is. I think I was looking it up in the lectionary to see what that had to say. There we go, right there. I'm already looking at Easter Day. We got Sunday. No, but so that is Matthew. So we read John tonight. Good Friday's John's Passion. And John's Passion doesn't have it either tonight. We started at verse 18 tonight.
Right.
So yeah, we miss it. That
Yeah.
final
I
I am statement. And I find that unfortunate. I don't know that too many other people would
And
even
it would pair so well with it for last night anyway, because the Exodus reading so clearly states, I am the Lord.
Yeah, exactly. So Caroline Lewis writes about it. It's the only absolutely one that says I am. I mean, it says I am He, but it says I am. And it and it's significant for interpretation of the foot washing, and also helps to assist in clarifying the verses that surround the I am statement. To what does the it refer to in verse 19? I tell you this before it occurs. An initial answer might assume the betrayal of Judas, especially after verse 18. So why do the disciples need to believe in Jesus's identity at the moment of Judas's betrayal? They need to know just what power is at work, especially with Jesus's departure becoming more and more certain. Moreover, it is essential that the disciples believe all that Jesus as the I am signifies, because it is to this that they will give witness in the world. When I ask the question over and over again, so what is so compelling? Why does this story claim our lives? And I think that that's one of the important answers there, or at least illuminations right there, is that Jesus is the I am, and that is what we give witness to in the world.
Okay.
So there you go.
There we go.
That's that one. Did you hear, as you sat there in church listening to the foot washing story again? How many times have you heard it? And I think that our reflection in our little book says something about that I thought was meaningful. But did you hear anything new and different? Oh, Anne, you're muted.
Oh, I am.
No, not you, Anne Barnwell. Anne Wonke's muted.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, Louise Austin gave the sermon last night, and this was a little side thingy, but she says, in the midst of all of this, can you see the humor when Peter says, well, not just my feet, but do my hands and face and everything too. And what hits me is the patience of Jesus, who says, takes him at his literal for the second. It says,
Yeah.
no, that's not it. Knowing that Peter is totally missing the point.
Yeah.
And just the way that she phrased it that time, that had to be, and as she said, she says, maybe there was a little giggle with the others when he said that totally just, I'm going, yep, that's me.
Well, and that's Peter. I mean, Peter who
Exactly.
wanted to build the booth to house
Yep.
prophets.
Yeah.
Peter who will betray Jesus.
Yeah.
Deny.
I'm sorry, but deny. Thank you. Judas who betrays, Peter who denies. Yeah.
Yeah, it's I think sometimes a concern I have for me, I can get when you've heard something so much, and you can get a little bit, not callous, but yeah, we've heard it too familiar. And then there's those of us that are thinking about the music most of the time when we're supposed to be listening. But I think that it's important, and even today, or like now, we did do the Passion Gospel Good Friday on I'm sorry, on Palm Sunday. And
But it was only read as the gospel. We didn't have
right,
any of the
Oh, you did.
Oh,
Good.
you're going to get full
participation.
blown. You're going to get full blown tonight with Corey and everything.
Okay.
But I think it's really important that I try to put myself back into how Mary would have felt, how the friends, to not just be sitting here looking at it, oh yeah, I've heard that a bazillion times, and let's go through this again, and what is my music going to be next? Which is very easy for me to do if I'm not careful, because we are all have been there more than once.
Yeah.
Including the clergy. I think the clergy have to be very aware also.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just, because it's so much a part of.
Yeah. How about what hit me? Well, probably because our preacher began with us singing. We sang one of the songs that we have been singing in all of these marches, put one foot in front of the other.
Oh, you'll have to sing that to me. I don't know it.
I don't know if I can. Put one foot in front of the other
and lead with love.
Put one foot in front of the other.
Please send it.
And lead with
love.
That's all there is to it. It's just everybody singing that together. But so one of the things that she teased out was the new commandment.
Mhm.
Of love one another, and that is all about how we walk, so the whole idea of putting one foot in front of the other, and she just put that together with the foot washing,
Mhm.
in that sort of experiential way. And I thought, yeah, I think that's what love looks like. um
Including making sure the computer's working and not yelling at your husband when it's not. So,
Yeah, there you go. Well, computers and printers know it's Holy Week, and they know it's time
yep.
to act up. It's just that life in the church. Yeah, so I heard that a little bit differently, not differently, a little bit more. I don't clearly, maybe clearly. I gained a little more clarity around um, foot washing and what it means and what it looks like to love one another.
Well, last night, and I guess we did it last year at St. Paul's, we had a hand washing instead of foot washing, so that everyone could participate, even those who can't get their shoes on and off or kneel or whatever. And I was in charge of getting fresh water and whatnot. And I found it very unfulfilling
Yes.
because we did not touch each other.
No.
We poured the water on the person's hands that we were,
Yeah.
with, but we didn't wash their hands. We didn't put our hands in the water with them. And to me, that was the no touching thing. It ruined the whole.
It was a
point
very, for me, it wasn't the same at all either.
Yeah.
Here.
So
But I
mean,
want to share, I really have to share this before the lady comes. The one thing that hit the gospel very much was our dear Betty Gilbert was sitting in the front row with her walker there, and she could not get up. She could not get up to come. And everybody was kind of finishing up. Ryan Lewis got up, went to the altar, got the water, brought it down to her so she could do the hand washing, and I looked at that and I said, that's what the gospel is about.
well, there you go. That works too.
But I agree with you, Paula. It was
It
sanitized.
was a bit antiseptic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wonder, I mean, liturgically, and we're going to move into a little bit of a liturgical conversation from Madeleine's reflections here. But liturgically, we've always had to ask the question: is it okay for to do this very particular foot washing action in that very hands-on way? You get dirty water, you get people whose feet are misshapen, you get all sorts of things happening when you are doing exactly, Paula, that what you described, that physicalness of washing feet. And even when people don't want to participate in that, and instead and I chose to observe it last night. I've never done that before. That's never been a role for me, is to sort of watch. So that's what I did last night. I kind of observed everybody. And I wonder if for some, that ability to observe, to watch, and to see is actually also a powerful experience. And that maybe we want to sort of give up the whole hang up we have about some people who won't take their shoes and socks off.
Yeah. I like that. I like that.
I guess as a liturgical planner, that's part of what I need to be doing. Kathy, yeah?
I was trying to watch, because I had never done this before. Well, I mean, I had only done it as a caregiver. And so I maybe spent a little extra time going over surfaces, but
Yeah.
I noticed that the way Hulda did it was very simple, very, just kind of poured the water over the feet and then took the towel and dried the feet. And that was it. And it was more sort of the action as a blessing than as a literal washing of the feet.
Yeah. And I think that all of that
kind of more reinforced.
Yeah.
How is foot washing like baptism?
That's a great question. Does anybody want to take a stab at it?
We are.
Yeah.
As we are in the baptismal waters, dying and resurrecting with Jesus, so we are following his commandment as we love one another by doing the work, whether their feet are dirty or whether they're a clean person and just had a shower, and we give them what they need, the food, as you have done it to the least of these.
Yeah.
It's following the baptismal covenant.
Good answer.
Yeah.
It's renewal.
Welcoming into fellowship.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess that's part of what we as long-term participants, and I think Kathy is able to give us a little bit of a different perspective on it, being kind of a first timer at it. What that it is upon us to welcome people into this particular activity because it is off-putting. I mean, absolutely.
Yeah.
It is off-putting. Yeah. What are these weirdos doing?
The ick factor is there.
Yeah. Kathy, did you ever think that? Did you ever think, what are these weirdos doing?
No, I turned to Morris. I said, "Are we literally going to wash our feet?" And he said, "Yes." He was encouraging about it. But those sorts of things aren't icky to me. I guess when you've taken care of people's bodies, it's not that big a deal. And I thought there was such a great I'm so emotional anyway, and I'm extra emotional right now. I thought there was such a great tenderness about it. And I was remembering when Pope Francis did this with just people that were, I can't remember, but they were people who were in like the Italian equivalent of a soup kitchen or something.
I think I remember that. Yeah.
Were they prisoners he went to?
Or prisoners? Yeah.
Prisoners.
Yes.
And I was just so moved by it.
That's lovely. Paula.
Well, it makes us very vulnerable.
Yeah.
And to do that, and it's the humanity of it, and I find it just so moving.
Yeah.
It's also submission.
Yes, to each other as community.
Yeah.
That's why, I don't know, Paula, if we make a noise, now you can, because you got a little power there, Walter Guild, that maybe some of us would like to go back to foot washing or something.
Well, when all the Easters comes down, I'm just going to mention to him, and offhandedly that I didn't think it was very, I don't know. I'm going to pick my words.
Well,
I
I
gotta
used
say
some of
goodbye.
Kathy's words. I think Kathy had some really good words about.
I'm sorry, people. I have to say goodbye. Blessed
Okay.
Easter to you all.
Happy Easter.
Yeah.
See you
Easter.
tonight.
Yeah.
Happy Easter.
I think the words vulnerability and tenderness and what other words came out of that our conversation, Paula, that I think you might be able to, rather than saying putting that conversation you're going to have in a position of adversarial,
And
that
I think I'd use Sharon's word. It was antiseptic.
yeah
Yeah.
It wasn't anything.
yeah yeah yeah, I think you could have that conversation and use
Unless he encouraged people to actually touch the other person and wash their hands. If he
Yeah.
really wants because there was 100% participation, and he said there was last year too. So
so last year was also hand washing.
evidently, when we were at St. Paul's in
I even
Beloit,
remember that, do
you
you?
don't recall it.
No, neither do I.
Well, except
Must not have had any effect on me.
I think the other thing I think is that it's hard for him to be touching people
Right.
in almost any way,
Mm.
but particularly that kind of way.
Well, Sharon, you might have just hit the nail on the head there.
It's hard for Jesus when he
No.
does it.
No,
Our
for our
priest.
priest, who is a very
Oh,
nice man,
oh,
but who is,
Can't do
I have
that.
never met anybody that introverted. And I've
Mhm.
known a lot of introverted people.
Mhm.
And he's not touchy-feely at all.
Mm-mm.
Could
Well,
be.
that's the power of
Very
power.
good.
What, Ann?
That's the power of leadership.
Yeah.
You state something as a general a general principle, and the reality is that it's very personal.
Mm.
And most of the time people don't ask, they just accept.
Mm.
So that's okay. I mean, I hope that they return to the foot washing because it is so meaningful for so many people.
And maybe it's a
Phobia.
no. Maybe what the conversation could kind of turn into is that this is a this is a community activity. That this is what we do together on this most holy of nights. And if you don't want to be a part of it, you can just sit and watch. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, too. Go ahead, Mary Lou.
Well, the thing about foot washing is that in that society, that was such a hospitality thing.
Yeah.
So I mean, I just can't imagine hands being equivalent in any
Yeah.
way.
Yeah,
Not at all.
I don't think they are. Carolyn, was it Carolyn that said that, or was it in our Madeleine thing oh yeah, she said in the reflection. Is that where it is? Maybe not. I thought I underlined and so glad I'd remember to say, because one of these writers raised that point about it even being deeper than a hospitality. Yes, in that culture, washing feet is all about hospitality, and that as it gets placed into okay, maybe this is what I was in Caroline's book. She's got okay, the unless I wash you statement that Jesus makes to Peter. She says, indicating that there is more to this washing than standard hospitality practice for dusty feet in the ancient world. The symbolism of washing here is more complicated than we tend to imagine. particularly in our preaching and in our ritual enacting. What does being washed mean? To be washed clean makes some interpretive sense, looking ahead to the increased tension of Judas's betrayal and the prediction of Peter's denial. And from what are we washed? And can anyone be washed clean? I mean, so, I mean, I think, yes, it's culturally inbound, but it also, and maybe that's why we have such off-puttingness sometimes, is that the leadership, as Anne pointed out, is so important in how we look at this particular activity. So, yeah, I don't know. Trinity has had a track record of washing feet, so it could be on that. Go ahead, Anne.
So, I had a flash idea. Let's see if it comes back. You are connecting this to baptism. And there you go, right? That's exactly it. Being washed of our sins, washed. Yeah. Oh, there you go. Thank you.
Yeah, well, connected to our baptism. Paula, were you going to say something again? Okay. Okay. Go ahead, Sharon.
Well, I found this statement from Madeleine in that book, A Rhythm of Prayer. And unfortunately, it doesn't say if it was from a book or anything, but it attributes it to her. And it says, I will have nothing to do with a God who cares only occasionally. I need a God who is with us always, everywhere, in the deepest depths as well as the highest heights. It is when things go wrong, when the good things do not happen, when our prayers seem to have been lost, that God is most present. We do not need the sheltering wings when things go smoothly. We are closest to God in the darkness, stumbling along blindly. And I think that that's what foot washing signifies because it is icky. I mean, I can't stand to have anybody touch my feet. I have to like gird my loins to go to the podiatrist. But
yeah.
But God did that. God washed people's feet. Dirty, icky feet. And your feet were really filthy then.
Yeah, that water was pretty muddy after one wash.
Right.
When we go up there, we can, almost get through the whole congregation before we get too many floaties in there.
And to think back to Mary washing Jesus's feet and drying them with her hair.
Yeah.
I mean, that's God with you in the darkness, in the deepest depths.
It's that God who stoops. What page
Yes,
is that
exactly.
on in that book, Sharon?
It is on.
I'm sure I have that on my shelf.
Of course, it's an unnumbered page.
Kind of a
62, I think.
62-ish. Okay.
It's right after, it's on the verso of part 2.
Okay. Thank you. I'm going to take a look at that if I can find it. Well, let's move to her, because I think that there's some things in this that, especially, we've talked about this. We do this thing year after year after year. And I think that her conversation with Calvin about the sonnet is just absolutely the description of our episcopal peculiarity around liturgical worship. Mrs. Watson says, to Calvin, you know perfectly well what I'm driving at. And he says, you mean you're comparing our lives to a sonnet, a strict form, but freedom within it. And Mrs. Watson says, you're given the form, but you have to write the sonnet yourself. What you say is completely up to you. And that for me, that piece is so meaningful as to how our lives go. But I also, when people ask me about our Episcopal liturgical worship, that is what makes sense of it, for me anyway. That our and Lutherans and Catholics too, that our worship is the strict form of the sonnet, and what we do with it, depending on who your bishop is, of course, but what we do with it, yeah, we have some freedom inside of that strict form of the sonnet. And for me, that's huge. That's a huge way to understand liturgical worship as one who has spent her life putting together and planning liturgical worship. That makes all sorts and kinds of sense.
That
This
makes so
puts me
much.
in mind of
Go ahead,
Okay, just a minute here. Who was
Kathy.
Kathy? Okay, Kathy,
uh,
continue.
well, Marge Piercy has a poem where she talks about how the greatest creativity comes from having to work within parameters.
Yeah, yeah.
I,
Haiku and yeah, all of those forms are that very thing. Not to say that free verse can't be wonderful, but when one adheres to that strict form, yeah, that's some amazing things happen out of it. And you are going to jump in?
Well, I just love your comment about that because the words that go into each piece may change,
Mm-hmm.
but the entire structure is the same, and we never forget the really important things, the confession,
Yeah,
Lord's Prayer, the very important things that need to be there are always there.
yeah.
And I sort of grew up in the 70s, and there was a form of the prayer that talked about the galaxies, and I learned recently,
Mercy.
Percy, I learned that people who didn't grow up at that time are kind of dismissive, like, oh, those earth people, and yet that was meaningful, very meaningful at the time.
Yeah.
We were just becoming aware of how important that was. So, yeah, I
It
love
was
that.
it was that prayer that hooked me into
Was
the
it?
into the Episcopal Church. Yeah. Prayer C.
Was the favorite Eucharistic prayer of a priest that I knew at St. Francis House, who was getting his PhD in some kind of African studies. He was a black man from South Africa who at that time was not able ever to go back home because he would have been arrested or killed.
Mm.
And every time I hear somebody read that, I hear
Yeah.
his accent in my head.
Yeah.
And he just recently passed away. But he was a wonderful guy. He was also the priest who said to me, why do you put us on a pedestal? We put our pants on the same way as anybody else, 1 foot at a time.
Go.
Indeed.
There you go. That's exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I really love then in the reflection in the middle of it, because I think this helps so much when we come to a place like Holy Week and we know, oh, what we're doing it again, right? So in the very middle of that reflection, we rehearse this pattern year after year, day after day, not to impose it onto reality, but rather to remind ourselves and each other that this pattern is the very heart of reality, that love does prevail, that no matter how grim the night becomes, joy will come in the morning.
The morning is seeming very far away some days.
Some days the morning
Some
seems
days,
so
yeah.
very far away. But we still pray, do we not? Lord, open my lips and may we proclaim your glory, right? That is our morning prayer. And that we proclaim it and we proclaim it and we proclaim it, and some days we believe it. Some days we just really rely on other people to believe it for us.
Oh, I love how you put that.
Yeah.
That we rely on other people to believe it for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And knowing there will be a day when I will believe it for you. Where, that's what I mean, that's why we do what we do, is it not? That's why we get in those pews.
Mhm.
Not because I believe every word of that all the time, but because together I might be able to say, well, today is a good day, I believe. Today is not a good day, and I really need you people to believe this for me, right?
Mhm.
Which is why, I have said to people who I follow up with, hadn't been in church, and they say, well, this horrible thing is happening to me. And all I will do when I get to church is cry. And I
Mhm.
say, well, okay, then. If you can't come to church and cry, then what good are we?
That's right.
What?
And Kathy, you'd be interested to know that Kim Davis, who gave you so much grief when her brother died, her husband just
I
died.
did. I saw that.
And their funerals at Trinity on Wednesday, and she and her son were there on Sunday, both crying their eyes out.
Good. Good. I'm
And
glad
her,
you were
and
there.
her son said, "This is just what we needed." And
Yeah.
yeah, it's a sad thing.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go.
But so good that they felt they could come
Yes.
and be with all of the rest of us.
And
And
she
cry.
and cried and cried and cried.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, if we can't do that at church, then it doesn't matter what we do. I mean, I
Mhm.
guess, Sharon, that's the thing about when the joy kind of feels so far away. Um, that somehow in the gathering of the people, joy is made manifest. Yeah, somehow. I mean, that's Jesus in our midst, is it not?
Well, and I think about while you were gone, I had read the prayer that observant Jews say
Mhm.
when they get up in the morning. And, it sort of boils down to, thank you, I'm still here. Your faithfulness is great.
Mm.
And I think about that, you know, that joy in the morning will get here sometime.
Sometime it will. Yeah.
Mhm.
Maybe longer than expected, but it'll get here. Anne.
I don't share too much, but last year was a very, very frightening year for me. I hadn't retired yet, and I was experiencing a hostile work environment. And I remember one day I just came to church and just bawled in a way that I hadn't ever publicly ever before, and received so much love and so much care. And people, there's one thing to cry silently in the back of the church, and another one to have people become aware and do what you needed to do, which was to affirm that you'll make it and that your grief is important. And so that was remarkable, and I'm very, very grateful that that happened. By the way, I did keep the job. I retired. They really wanted to fire me, but it didn't happen that way. It happened a different. So I want to thank everyone who was able to do that for me.
Mm.
And you've done that for me.
Yeah, that's what people do for each other, right?
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. Yeah. And she says it as it goes on. We also rehearse it like a troupe. I love this, like a troupe of stage performers, in order to strengthen our skills as we walk through the pattern in our own lives. Joy, struggle, suffering, resurrection. To give us more poise amidst turbulence, more hope amidst despair, more freedom amidst the twists and turns to come. In other words, to help us become growing, mature human beings.
Mm.
Yeah, some of you might hear some of those words in a sermon shortly.
Not sure. Not sure.
Perhaps tomorrow night.
Perhaps tomorrow night. Yeah, perhaps.
Mm.
Yeah.
This is totally off course, but I know I'll forget if I don't ask. Have you heard from or seen Tanya lately?
Um, I did let's see. When everything blew up here, I did see her right away in those days, but I haven't seen her like since before I left and since I've come back. Have you not?
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen any.
Well, she was very visible
Right.
um, on social media at that time,
Yeah.
and nothing since. And I'm just hoping she's okay.
She did go, I need to follow up with her. She did go away to some sort of a week-long kind of. So the person of whom we're speaking is Tanya Sadagopan, who was the pastor at First Congregational Church in Janesville. And she was called to Minneapolis to be the UCC's like bishop, that whatever the word is they use to
Congregational minister.
congregational.
It's a
I don't know. That's what it is. And so that was really fun. Here, a friend of mine from Janesville is coming to Minneapolis to do that work. And initially we spend a little time together. But as you say, Sharon, I haven't seen from her. So yeah, thank you for raising that. I need to follow up with that. The UCC is doing a big action in these days. If you're getting the Isaiah, I don't know, Kathy and Ann, if you're getting the Isaiah emails, yeah, the Isaiah emails. I think Hulda also put it in her. Hulda wrote a letter that's coming out here shortly about the next steps for things happening after Palm Sunday. So I think it's going to be in that. But anyway, that is a little bit of an aside, but not a complete aside, because isn't that what we do is we show our love with our feet and what we do and who we are. All those things. Yeah. And I don't want to forget this prayer because it is so lovely. So let's take a look at it. Does anybody want to pray that out loud? Do you see it there after the reflection?
I'll do it.
Thank you.
God of freedom, poet of heaven and earth, be with us as we live in and through the sonnet of creation, writing the sonnets of our lives. Help us to rejoice, to marvel, to mourn, to forgive, and to rise again with you on Easter morning and on every morning. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Amen. Yeah,
Very cool.
it's a lovely prayer.
It is beautiful prayer.
Yeah.
Poet of heaven and earth.
The author of all that is seen and unseen.
Unseen, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, for me, that's why poetry and prose make just so much sense is God as author. And that we co-create. We are co-authors. We are in charge of our own stories. And that's what gives us agency, right? That's what
Yeah.
helps us to transform our past into something beautiful and amazing for our future, is that we are writing the story, nobody else. And that's a hard one, I think, for many people to do, is to stop blaming other people for writing their story and to take it on and write it themselves. Yeah. So we're going to meet next Friday morning. What are we doing, Sharon?
I think we're just finishing up.
We're finishing this up.
We're doing the weeks to come,
And
and then we're moving into Acts. And you and I will have to, well, you will have to tell me what
how that's
lessons
go.
from Acts you want to start off with.
I will
It's pretty easy once we're moving, but
I will sit down and take a look at what that arc might look like, and that'll be fun to look at. Acts. It's always interesting. And yeah, like we said, if you have access to a commentary, it's always interesting to take a look. The one that Matthew Skinner wrote is fabulous and not quite as expensive as some others. And not quite as scholarly. It's a more of a study of Acts rather than
That's what I need.
Commentary on Acts. So you might have it because we have taken a look at it previously. But yeah, that's
about a year ago, I think.
Probably so. Well, because I led the people at that other church through that book.
Yeah. So when you were there, we did this too.
Yeah, we did a little bit of that too. Okay. Sound good?
Off the subject, what did you think of the outcome of Lent Madness?
Constance and her companions.
I was Desmond Tutu, but she was second, so my top two made it.
Yeah.
Lent Madness was very interesting to me this year. It made me stop and wonder what the purpose of Lent Madness is. Is it to lift up those people in the church who don't receive any kind of notoriety or whatever? Recognition, thank you. Or is it to proclaim the importance of some people to the building of Christendom? If it's the former, then Constance and her companions are certainly an excellent choice. If it's the latter, we passed up some really important people.
Yeah.
Including Desmond Tutu.
Yeah.
I'm
not sure. Go ahead, Mary Lou.
I just voted for women.
Really?
Great. That's great.
Yeah, if there was a choice between a man and a woman, I voted for the women.
That's good. And I kind of got a little off-putted that every time I looked at the sort of the email that came out of the website, it was only men talking about it. Where are women in this conversation? I'm just really sure like this right now. So, kind of.
But
it seems like there were more women writing about stuff previously.
Okay. Well, that's good. With this trip right in the smack dab middle of it, I kind of got a little waylaid.
Yeah.
But I did pay attention to these last couple of weeks. Okay, who disappeared?
Anne Barnwell.
And Mary
She
Lou.
said she had to go.
Oh, no, Mary Lou.
No, Mary Lou's
Mary Lou's there.
Okay. Okay, there's one I think I'm gonna try and make it for this is for Janesville. I think I'm gonna try and make it to Emily's graduation party.
Oh, good.
I put it on my calendar, so I'm gonna have to talk to you. It'd probably be like a Friday drive, stay overnight Friday night and come back Saturday afternoon. We'll see. But I'm thinking I might do that.
You know, the bed's always open.
I know it is. And that's what I'm looking toward.
Some wonderful people have slept in that bed. It even has a new mattress.
There you go. Okay, guys. Happy Easter.
Happy Easter.
Got a little bit of a journey before we get there.
Right.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.